What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida. And today we're coming at you live like we do every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We're going over the market stats, the local news that you need to know about, and doing a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, if you're watching it live, if you're watching the replay, make sure you fire them off in the comments below. This week has been a pretty interesting week, as many of you probably know. CPI data came out this morning. So that actually is giving us a little bit of relief here in terms of mortgage rates because though CPI is around 5%, so 5% inflation, it has come down a pretty good bit, which is what we want overall. So the Fed's target is 2%. We're still well above that, double what they want. But we'll see what happens here in the future. It's something that we're going to touch base on here once we head to the market stats and the news stories. The numbers for inflation correlate with good numbers for interest rates, which means a better monthly payment for you as a buyer. And if you're relocating, if you need to sell your house, that means more buyers for your house. That means more affordability for people. So overall, that is a positive thing. And we'll stay on top of it, guys, like we always do. So let's go ahead and I'll pull up the MLS here. And, like we've been talking about, inventory is a big stressor, right? Apparently down nationwide 6.5 million homes. So there is a housing shortage, which, is pretty believable considering that, even though we have interest rates hitting 7% last year, the Fed funds rate being raised the most it's ever been in 40 years, we still don't have as many homes as we had pre-pandemic on the market by a significant measure. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at our local market here. And let's see. All right, so let's just take a look at the general market. This is everything in northeastern Florida, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Clay County, 5305. And that number, I think, is only about, I think it was 5347 last week. I could be a little off on that number. But we still really haven't found our bottom yet in terms of when we're going to see more listings coming to the market. And if you're a buyer in this market, you know what it is. There's really not much available across a lot of the price points in the areas. So our options are very limited right now. So not just myself, but buyers, sellers, they're wanting more inventory to come to the market. Well, sellers aren't, but 5305. So that is down from the week before. I'm thinking since we're now past the holidays, since we've got, we're past the spring break time, we're going to see some more homes come to the market as everyone's getting past that time. And I think a lot of people want to wait until after, you have the holiday, after you have spring break, you're out of town, whatever that is. I think we will start seeing some more listings come onto the market, especially as we start to see interest rates go down, because that pain of that 7% interest rate versus your 3% interest rate isn't going to be as relevant as it normally as it was, 3% versus a 7. Now we'll have a 3 versus like maybe a 5.5. That would be beautiful, right? Of course we'd all like those 3s back, but we got to be realistic too. So we'll see what happens. But all right, let's take a look over the last week here. So we got new listings 1,042, and we got closed listings 789. So that seems like, because last week that was 1 for 1, whereas this week it's almost, let's say, 8 out of 10. So that seems to be a pretty big distance there. So maybe we are seeing some more listings come onto the market as we saw a lot go off. New listings to pending, we got 961 pending, and we have 450 contingent taking back up. I like to group those two together because they're essentially off the market, right? They're trying to figure some things out. So for every new listing, there was, let's say, 1,300, 1,400 homes come to the market. 10 to 14 situation there, or 1 to 4, I guess would be an easier one. And new listing here versus price changes. So 1 for 1 on that one. So new listings coming up, we got the same amount of price changes. So you just have to be competitive with what's coming onto the market here. But yeah, we'll keep monitoring that, the market stats as always every week, just to see what's going on here. On average, I think across our entire market, things are selling about 96.5% of list price. So if it's listed at 100,000, it's going to sell for 96.5. So definitely some more wiggle room in there. So if you're a buyer that needs to have closing costs, you can, so it's on average, things are selling at 96.5. That's 3%, 3.5% of wiggle room. Maybe you can get the seller to contribute that money to your closing costs, 3% on a $300,000 house. You're talking $9,000 that you keep in your pocket today. So I think that's a very attractive option, right? And for sellers that need to sell in order to buy, right? Having that wiggle room is a good thing, because that maybe means that you can negotiate, instead of purchase price, you can negotiate time in your home after the sale, right? So if you need that lease back, if you need that time for you to close on a house to get into another house, this is a good market. Last year that was a great market for it, but there was no leverage for the buyer. But now we got a little bit of back and forth going here. So very interesting. And of course, we'll stay on top of this. I've got some follow-up news stories here today for you guys, but we're also going to take a look at the big news stories. So let's go ahead and hop into that. And if you have any questions, make sure you fire them off below. So let's take a look here. CPI, this is going to be a big one, right? So CPI for all items rises 0.1% in March as shelter increases. I think the expectation was actually for it to be 0.2% was the expectation. So it beat expectations, which is always good for investors. So it rose 5% over the last 12 months. And as you can see from this last publication that they have here, it was up 6% year over year in February. So that's a good indicator. With mortgage rates going down, we should see interest rates start to go down. And that's also what we're seeing. So I'm just going to hop over to this news story. I feel like they kind of work in tandem. U.S. 30-year mortgage rate drops a fifth week to 2-month low. Of course, my scroll's not working. Here we go. Dropped 10 basis points to 6.3%. The period ended April 7th. I think they've even ticked a little bit further. I've heard some people getting in the high fives recently with their locking in at, so that's great. And mortgage rates ideally, they've been falling because investors seek safety in treasury bonds following the recent collapse of several banks. So because of the SVB bank failure, we're actually seeing better mortgage interest rates. So we'll see what happens here, guys, as this continues to tick down. I think as we continue to see mortgage rates go down, that also, I think, factors into the affordability crisis that we have here in St. Johns County. So we should see homes, even at a higher price point, becoming more affordable as those interest rates go down. They make a significant contribution to your monthly payment. So, a 7% interest rate versus a 5.5% interest rate are two different worlds, and it definitely helps out people here. So I'm really excited. I think that's probably what's going to happen as our market continues to go. But of course, guys, I'll stay on top of this, so you don't have to. Just check in every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Make sure you get that good stuff, get that information you need to know if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest. Let's go on to the next news story, guys. Appreciate you being here tonight. John, if you're out there watching, hope you're doing well. Congratulations on your future endeavors in life and the new apartment. But this is something that we've talked about, right? We've talked about, didn't share my screen. You klutz, you. There we go. All right. So, sorry about that, guys. This is something that we talked about here. St. Johns County schools are short on substitute teachers. In the last 3 years, a local teacher says her experience with getting a substitute teacher has been increasingly difficult. And I mean, let's be honest, guys, we talked about this, and it probably all comes down to money, right? And flexibility. And it seems that the teachers at St. Johns County can't get a raise. So I imagine they're having an extreme difficulty finding substitute teachers here because, a lot of it's about money, and they need to have a place to live and be able to afford to live in the area. And once again, this affordability crisis is not going away. We definitely have some growing pains here in St. Johns County. As great of a place it is to live, there are issues, and we're dealing with them every single day, guys. And my goal is to bring up the relevant information, right? You're moving here because you want to be a part of the school district. Well, number 2 school district's having some issues, right? And that's a big deal. So just like to be upfront and forward. A lot of these realtors, they just want to sell you a house. I want to give you the right information so you make a decision. I'm here to help. Let's go on to the next news story here, guys. Okay, so this one I found was pretty interesting. This was a restaurant downtown, and if you remember, I covered on one of my live streams, someone actually got shot right out in front of this, but it's called Scarlett O'Hara's Restaurant and Bar. Really, it was in town for years, and it just recently closed. But it just recently sold for 3.95 million. So I imagine there's going to be it was Scarlett O'Hara's and Dos Gatos. So both of those shut down. It's 8,000 square feet with 150 seats. I imagine that's probably going to become a higher end, nicer restaurant here. As we see things downtown St. Augustine starting to change pretty drastically. Within the past couple of years, the restaurants that have gone in there, I mean, you're looking at the St. Augustine Distillery, you're looking at Citygate Prohibition Kitchen, you have River and Fort, which is a sister restaurant of River and Post in Jacksonville, both great, great restaurants. And then you have, oh my gosh, Casa Reina right on the corner there. And they both those buildings, River and Fort, Casa Reina, completely renovated from top to bottom. Beautiful buildings. The whole place is like amazing. And all the food's good too. All the food's great too. So the culture of St. Augustine is a tourist town. We have food, wine, history, all of that in this little Spanish town right here in St. Augustine. And they're just adding to that, right? There's music downtown, there's art, there's good food, good drinks, and like we're talking like high-end craft cocktails. I think the food and wine tour here in St. Augustine just won like being one of the best food and wine tours in the United States. For Florida, it's one of so great either way. It's a great little town. I love it. So on to the next news story, but new restaurants probably going to be incoming right in downtown St. Augustine. Going to be a good spot, I imagine. And now this is a really interesting news story, and I just did a video on this. Should have this coming out here shortly. Part of the top 10, or it might already be out. I don't know. I'm losing track. The top 10 videos have washed me out. But we'll talk about Palm Valley for a little bit. So if you know what Palm Valley is, it's located here. I'll show you real quick. So it's located in St. Johns County. It's pretty much part of Ponte Vedra Beach. So if you're familiar with where TPC Sawgrass is played, then you're familiar with Palm Valley. And Palm Valley used to be a completely different place than it is today. So this article that we're going to cover is really just about how this area has changed and how it's the people that once lived there don't live there anymore, and it's a dying breed, as they almost call it in the article itself, which is about the history of Palm Valley. Old Palm Valley held out from change for a long time, but nothing lasts forever. So this shows one of the old drawbridges that used to go over to get into Palm Valley. They have some good pictures here. This is Barbara Jean's. This is right on the intercoastal water. But this used to be an old fish camp. That's all it was over there, was people that had fish camps and swamp, and that's all it was. This guy, Palm Valley native Ernest Matthew Michler, though it's spelled Michler, had a cookbook, White Trash Cooking. He became a sensation in the 1980s. And that cover is absolutely fantastic. I gotta say, he picked the right thumbnail for it. But essentially what they outlined in this article is that it went from a sleepy two-lane drawbridge type of place known to locals for the canal, intercoastal, and swampland, to now Ponte Vedra began creeping up with the Gulf land, and then Nocatee came from the west, bringing a whole bunch of different people in town. So now it's oceanfront estates, country clubs, and condominiums, when it used to be swampland, fish camps, and mobile homes. So this area is, there's a lot of pockets within northeastern Florida, St. Johns County, Duval County, where a lot of these people used to live. That intercoastal waterfront housing wasn't as expensive as it is today. So we're just seeing a lot of things change here in the area. Just like here in St. Augustine, a lot of people getting moved out of the area because of how much money is moving into northeastern Florida. And it's unfortunate to see, but once again, change is going to happen regardless if we like it or not. To either get with it or you get lost. And I prefer to get with it. So I'm on the train, guys. I mean, I think northeastern Florida is changing for the better, but there are things like this, that are unfortunate. And myself, especially, like me, my sister, and my mom used to live on St. Augustine Beach. Rent was $800 a month. She was a single mother working at Ideal. She did hose clamps over here. I think she made $20,000 a year, something like that. it's not possible anymore. Just not possible anymore in this town. It's not. Things are too expensive. Inflation, like we just covered, is too high. So it, it's not the town it once was, where that was once a possibility. I just had someone call me today, and I felt awful, but they're like, "I'm looking for a rental, and I can only pay $1,000 in rent." And I don't do rentals at all, but I gave them a call. It's like, listen, like $1,000, like that's maybe pre-pandemic on like a studio or a one bedroom, but I mean, today's world, it's just not happening. But maybe a room in a house or something like that. I don't know. I feel for people, and like I'm one of those people. I feel a lot of my friends are getting this place too, but such is life, right? Can't I don't control who moves to town here. I feel like it's funny too, because people get mad at me like, oh, you're making videos because you want to make people move here so you can make all this money. And it's like, I'm not making anyone move here. I just put the info out there. You guys reach out to me and I help you out. Like, you're going to do it either way, with or without me, right? So I just try to smooth the process a little bit. On to the next one. I'm going to stop crying, guys. I know you're tired of hearing it. So let's go to the next news story here. This one's important. And it's also going to change close to where I live, which is a good thing. And I'm trying to make smart decisions by buying property that has growth potential here in St. Johns County. Baptist Health Building, Emergency Center, and Imaging Center in St. Augustine. And they got to do a better job at marketing. They didn't even write this that well. But it's going to be an 8.5 acre property, which is going to be at I-95 and State Road 16. So if you're familiar where the Harley Davidson is, where the outlet mall used to be, it's going to be on that tract of land that borders I-95 north at intersection State Road 16. And that's going to be an emergency center and an imaging center for Baptist Health, which is a great thing for me. I'm super stoked on that, because when we do rent this out, then maybe we'll be renting it out to some doctors, some nurses, something like that right down the street. Because you could walk to that new facility from my house, which I think is a fantastic thing. Also, for this area, we don't really have a major hospital close by. Closest one is probably going to be St. Vincent's Ascension off of 210, which is about a 15-minute drive north. So having a hospital right here would be fantastic, right at State Road 16 and 95. Super convenient for everyone to get to, and definitely, they just put a Chick-fil-A around the corner. They put a Wawa around the corner, and now we got a Baptist Health around the corner. I think my real estate prices are going to go up. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the move. So I'm hype on that. And also, it's good for the area too. There's tons of new communities in this area, and just having a doctor or an emergency service really close like that, I think that's a big benefit. So let's continue on. I also put an offer on a house today. We'll see how that goes for myself personally. Fingers crossed. I had to make some changes to what I wanted, but that's the market that we're in right now, guys. And this is a follow-up news story here. What does the future hold for a St. Johns County beach where waves flow under the houses? So this has been going back and forth. They're spending county money on research studies on this now, on what the government should do about the homeowners in Summer Haven, which all the time pretty much have water flowing under their house, where it used to be land, used to be a road, but now it's all water flowing under their house. And the county's talking about buying them out, right? The homeowners there, they want to stay. They don't want to leave. So they're trying to figure out a plan to sustain themselves. I don't know exactly how they're going to be able to do that. But there's 24 homeowners on the beach. A lot of them have water flowing underneath the homes. And they know that the county's not going to put the road back. So it even says it right here. But they're still trying to figure out something else, because they don't know they can't really get back. So they've created their own makeshift road. Hey, it does the job, right? But if it gets washed away, it gets washed away. And they're doing it themselves. They're moving sand themselves. So it'd be pretty hilarious if the county couldn't figure this out and the owners figured it out. And personally, that's what I think people should do. Don't rely on the government to figure it out for yourself. Figure it out, and then the government can ask you how you did it. Because if that washes away, or if it stays for 50 years, then they solved the problem, right? And then they didn't have to ask for anyone for help. No taxpayer dollars contributed. I don't see them doing a better job than the Army Corps of Engineers, but that's me being cynical. Maybe, if I was an optimist, I would say that, they're going to knock it out of the park. I'll stay on top of it when we probably the county will end up paying the bill to get more sand in there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, guys. Now, this is a follow-up news story as well. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, I had a kind of clickbaity title about Cordova Palms, right? So Cordova Palms, and I'll put this right here. So if you are looking to buy a house here in the area, probably, I don't know, you may not want to stick by this, and Dream Finders, I like their product a lot. Just seems that the location of this has been a problem. Man, look at this guy, Josh Rogers, loading up on Cordova Palms. 4 videos in the last couple weeks. He's a great agent, by the way, guys, so if you are wondering. But let's take a look here on the map to see where Cordova Palms is. But over here, this new construction community by Dream Finders, which is a large builder, and I think throughout the nation here, but definitely the Southeast. And the problem that and I covered this news story before, is that about a mile away from this location, they also have the Saltwater Shooting Club, which is one of the shooting clubs where long-range rifles are allowed to be shot at. Now, the location of Saltwater Shooting Club is about a mile from Cordova Palms, but because they've had so much development here in the area, people that are under contract on their homes have been finding bullet holes in their under construction homes. Which obviously, if you're buying a new construction home, maybe you're moving your family to St. Johns County because you want your kids to go to the school. You don't want your kids to get shot. And that's what the news said. They were like, we don't want our kids to be shot. We got to pull out of this contract. And some of the contracts, you're putting down significant amount of cash. So I don't know what would happen with a lot of those contracts. My buyer actually was interested in this property, and he moved on for reasons. And I texted him when I saw this article, and I texted him, I said, man, you dodged a bullet on that. And kind of being a little jokey, a little funny. But that's what happened. So either way, I'm sure they're going to figure out some way to remedy that, because, St. Johns County, the county itself is not going to be okay with bullet holes in, that's a safety issue, right? So the county is definitely going to figure something out there. And it's going to be pretty quick, I imagine. So as much as I'm, bringing it up to people's attention, I still think it's a great little community in terms of location and everything. And Pulte just bought 51 lots over there. So it's going to be a mix of Dream Finders homes, going to be a mix of Pulte homes, which is nice because it gives the neighborhood a little bit of difference. Not everything's so cookie cutter, looks exactly the same. Every floor plan, every facade of the front of the building looks the same. So they've got 43 foot and 53 foot lots, and they're going to open sales for 51 homes this year. So that's definitely going to be good. I think that the location of that place is honestly really great. Scroll out here. So you're right on US 1, just south of like where Palencia is. So this is International Golf Parkway here. And then 16 is right here. So that new hospital is going to go right over here by the premium outlets. But then you're just, you're probably 10, 15 minutes down the road from downtown St. Augustine, and then from Volano Beach, probably 15 minutes. So great location. You get new construction. Also, I mean, when my buyer was in there, they were throwing the deals at him. They were trying to get him to buy, and that's because they obviously had some issues for sure. But they were trying to get him to buy. They were like, hey, we'll pay your closing costs. We'll give you X off the price. We'll do this. We'll do that. They were throwing some incentives, and I imagine the incentives now are probably even stronger because of this big wave of news stories that have come up across about the bullet holes in their buildings. I mean, I think that would make sales slump just slightly. But I hope also that they are letting people know that too, because that would be a big problem if they weren't letting people know that. But I don't know. When we bought over here, we bought right by the outlet mall. There's actually a fraternal order of police shooting range, literally probably 200 yards from my house here. And we didn't know that until the inspection came up. Agent didn't say anything to us, didn't know. So we had that when the inspection came up, and heard the gunshots, and we were moving. I mean, I lived here before, and I'm from New York, but we were living in Brooklyn at the time, not in the best neighborhood, and never heard one gunshot. And then every single day I'm hearing 30, 40 gunshots. And at first it annoyed me, but now it doesn't bother me that much. Also, I think the fraternal order of police are going to move. But the one problem is that you can't call the police and they can shoot guns whenever they want. They shoot guns at like 2:30 in the morning sometimes. And it's like, I know people, like, so if you're shooting guns at 2:30, yeah, I understand their shift work, but a lot of times I guarantee you, if it's fraternal order of police, just guys hanging out over there, they're getting hammered and they're drinking, they're shooting guns. I just wish they me. But let's see here. We got some Swaggy Aggie. Swaggy Aggie. I like that name. Yeah, it definitely is nuts. I mean, that was one of the main concerns from parents, right? It's like, okay, so I move into this dream, maybe you're relocating to St. Augustine and you're like, oh, I'm moving into my dream house. I'm getting a new construction home. It's beautiful. It's got these finishes. It's in this community. It's got an amenity center. My kids play at the pool. They go to the schools. It's amazing. I've got this beautiful life. And then you find bullet holes on the side of your house. I mean, that's probably not in the builder contract, in terms of what they're covering, of what could go wrong, can go wrong, and your outs in the contract. But I imagine they're going to be probably some lawsuits surrounding that if they don't just let people out of the contract altogether. But we'll see. Swaggy Aggie firing up the comments. If you have comments, leave them below. Let's get people engaged here. I would hope so. I like the area, and Pulte is a good builder. They built my home in Las Colinas in 2017. Yeah, they're definitely one of the quality builders here in town. I'd have to agree with that for sure. And we're seeing more of their presence. I feel like we're seeing them in a lot of, like, you see Pulte put together with like Toll Brothers. I feel like almost every time you see a Toll Brothers community, you see a Pulte. So it's like those go hand in hand. Like a lot of people, Toll Brothers is like that same thing. Toll Brothers, Mastercraft, Pulte, like people go crazy over their product there. Swaggy Aggie firing it up. Good info. My sister was looking there. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's important to know. And I mean, maybe even going into the sales center, knowing that information, you'll be able to lean them a little bit more. Like, hey, all right, what are you going to do for me here, right? You're trying to sell homes in here. You got bullet holes in your home. What are you doing to fix it? And how are we going to make this okay for me? And that could be used as some leverage, because I think they'll be more willing to wheel and deal with that issue for sure. But exactly. But I don't want anyone getting shot, so don't take that. Do buyer due diligence. I don't know. Then it's like, man, what happens? Like, I help someone buy a house in there, right? What happens if I help someone buy a house in there and then they get shot? And I'm like, well, my realtor didn't tell me there was a gun club a mile and a half away. And it's like, well, if you don't shoot at gun clubs, you don't know. Don't rob me. But Swaggy Aggie, thank you so much for your comments. You guys have any more comments, leave them in the comments below. Questions as well. We're here. We're not here all night. I was going to say that. That's not happening. Sorry. Let me see what else. I have one more news story, I think, but let's see. We got Debbie Williams. She's commenting on here. What's your contact info? A friend was asking for a great realtor in St. Augustine. Debbie, that warms my heart. You guys, Debbie, you're the best. All right. So what I'll do here, guys, is I'll put in my contact info at the bottom here. I think you should be able to copy and paste it. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I can. I don't know. Maybe I can put it on a banner. Give me a second here. Let me figure it out. Never done this before, but it's also on my channel. It's also on my website. You can probably Google my name at this point. Hopefully it would pop up. Hopefully I got that kind of streak on Google. We'll see. I did put it in the comments and everything. That's my direct number. It's my email. Everything goes to me. I am getting a VA though, because we got a lot of people reaching out looking to buy homes, and me and my wife are tired of looking at emails. So that's what we need to do. If you can't copy that or anything, I'm trying to think what's the best way to go about it. If you can't see, all right, you know what? Here, I'll put a banner up. There we go. We'll do a banner. Okay, so 904. Oops. Okay, I messed it up, guys. Dang it. Maybe I should start incorporating that. That's actually a great idea. You guys gave me a great idea. You guys should incorporate like something where I can be like, hey, click this below schedule an appointment or something like that. But guys, that's my full contact information there. If you have any questions about new construction here in the area, I'm actually going to start going deep here in new construction, 55 plus new construction, and just new construction in general. Me and my buddy Justin, we're going to be hitting all those communities. If you are looking for a new construction deal, I was just in Entrada, and they've got some great deals, guys. They're doing, they have homes in there. They have two sections, right? So they have two sections of Entrada. They have Entrada Dorado, which is their gated section, and they have DR Horton Express, right? And that also comes with the two different series of homes. So the Express homes are Formica countertops, rolled vinyl flooring. You can find a house in there, brand new construction, single family, beautiful pool, beautiful fitness center. They're going to be like $375 at the cheapest, I think. Maybe even a little bit cheaper than that, if I remember correctly. But the incentive that they're going to do is they're going to pay your closing cost $10,000, and they're also going to throw on some homes. They're throwing $10,000 in flex cash. So maybe you want to screen in that lanai. Maybe you want to put fans in your entire house. Go fan crazy. You could do that. But the biggest thing is they're buying down interest rates too. So if you can close by June 30th, they're doing 575 on 575 on VA FHA. Nope, it's 5.5 on VA FHA and 5.75 on conventional loans. So that's really the big money saver there. But they're going to have deals like that all throughout the year. So I would definitely check out that community. I was just over there. Really, really like that. If you're looking for community to build possibly a rental portfolio, and maybe grow some wealth. Maybe you're doing like I'm doing. I want to buy a house, live in it for a year or so, buy another house, rent that house out, do the same thing, buy another house. Maybe after 2 or 3 houses, then I'm settling. But I'd have at least 4 houses in my portfolio before I really get settled into my final home, and at least have some rental passive income coming in. That's the goal, right? That's the goal. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but we want to get that done. So let me see here. Did you guys get the information? Okay, Debbie, thank you so much. I appreciate you for asking that. I do like that idea. I'm putting this up there with my info on there. Guys, if you do have any other questions, if you need to just have a conversation about what you're looking to do, you can schedule with me directly as well. What am I thinking? Give me 1 second here, guys, and I'll pull up my Calendly link. So you should be able to, and it should be in the description of it, of course. I got to log into Calendly, do all this stuff. Unbelievable. But you guys gave me a great idea, and I'm going to try and work my live streams to be a little bit more, trying to get more people engaged. So if you have any questions about getting people or ways to get people engaged, I'm definitely looking to do that, because I love it when people leave me comments here, because it really gets the conversation going, gets me starting to think about things, throwing things out there. But here, I'm going to post it here. So that's my Calendly link. That's the comment there. And then also I'll make myself a banner. So I'm not sure if you can click this or not on your end, but it's in the comments if you do want to schedule your own appointment. This is also what the Calendly link is. Not sure if that's even clickable or not. I doubt it is, but it's in the comments as well. I'll make sure to put it in the description. But guys, I appreciate you being here tonight. We got a good time tonight, guys. I really appreciate all the comments. Shout out to Swaggy Aggie and Debbie. Let's see here. You guys are awesome. Lit up the comments tonight. That's what I like. So we'll be here every Wednesday, 8 p.m., doing the market stats, the local news that you need to know about if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing here in the area, and also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, you're watching it live, you're watching the replay, make sure you fire them off below, because I do my best also to go back to the videos and answer all the comments. A lot of times YouTube doesn't notify me of when those comments are available. It's kind of frustrating sometimes. And it's not me not trying to reply to anyone. I'll reply to everyone as much as I can, but it's once it's past like the initial reply on the first comment, I don't get anything after that. So if you're trying to have a conversation with me in the comments, it's sometimes I won't get to it like 2 weeks later, because it's just what happens, guys. It's just how the thing's laid out. It's not exactly user friendly. But man, we got more people on here. We got 9 people, 7 people now. Okay, it dropped. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let you go now. I'll see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. You guys need anything, reach out to me directly. Call, text, or email. I'm here for you. Let me be able to help out. See you.